I had always been proud of my name. Not just proud, protective. It was mine. Mine alone. It carried every late night I spent building ideas nobody cared about, every sleepless dream, every promise I made to myself. It was me. And then, one ordinary Tuesday, everything cracked. Hey, did you know about this? My voice was sharp, brittle. I held the papers in my hands, shaking. Trademark documents. My name, claimed, by her. My sister. She laughed. That casual, effortless laugh that used to make me believe she had a soul. Oh, you mean the name? Yeah. Thought I said try something new. I froze. The words echoed in my head, bouncing off every wall of memory I had of us. Wait. You what? You registered my name for your company. She shrugged, perfectly calm. Technically it was available. And honestly, you never really use it like you should. My chest tightened. My lungs screamed. You just took it? Without even asking me? Why ask? You sept probably say no. Besides, it sep's a business. It sep's not personal. Not personal. Not personal. My own name, my identity was not personal to her. My stomach turned. I wanted to scream. I wanted to hit her. I wanted to disappear into the corner of the world where no one could betray me like this. And then there was Mom. She just watched silent, nodding slightly, as if this theft, this violation of every boundary I had was okay. Mom? My voice cracked. She took it. My name. And you? You are just letting her? Mom sighed. Abdul. It's just a name. People have taken bigger risks with less. A cold laugh ripped from me. A name is everything to me. Everything I have built. Everything I am. She stole it, and you just shrug. She didn't instead answer. I sank into a chair, clutching the papers like a life raft. My mind spun. Every birthday, every fight, every time I thought we were close, was any of it real? Did she always plan to eclipse me? Or was she this thoughtless, cruel? You always were dramatic, she said lightly, brushing past me. My sister, walking like she owned the room, like she owned me now too. I remembered that night we stayed up talking in the attic. We promised each other things, secrets, dreams. My name had been sacred between us. Now it was just hers. I looked down at the papers. Legal, binding, undeniable. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Disbelief morphed into something hotter, sharper, hurt, anger, and beneath it, the faintest, darkest spark of something I hadn't allowed myself to feel before. A plan. Not yet fully formed, but there, flickering, waiting. I would not let this stand. I couldn't. You think this doesn't spent matter? I whispered to myself, eyes scanning every line, every seal. You think I salt let you walk over me? She would learn. Everyone would. I remembered the look in her eyes when she first told me. Not fear, not guilt, just triumph. That casual arrogance made my blood boil. She thrived on taking, on breaking, on winning. And I had been blind. Blind. I clenched my fists, feeling the weight of every memory of childhood, every time she borrowed something without asking, every secret she twisted, every lie she spun. They all rushed back, and I realized this wasn't a mistake. This was her, always her. But now, the tables were mine to turn. The spark in my chest grew, cold and precise. Revenge didn't have to be loud. It didn't need chaos. It needed planning, patience, and inevitability. I stared at the documents again. My name, her face, Mom's silent nod, everything aligned into a single clear truth. I wasn't powerless, not anymore. A quiet vow formed in my mind. Not out loud, never out loud, but deep, deep inside. She had taken my name. She thought it was hers. She thought she could walk over me, claim what I built without consequence. She was wrong, and I would prove it. I folded the papers slowly, deliberately, feeling the weight of potential in my hands. The spark became a flame, not reckless, not hasty, controlled, beautiful, terrifying. I whispered to the shadows of my room, to the empty air that had witnessed my disbelief and fury. You think you own me. You think you own my name. You have no idea what sep's coming. And for the first time since I discovered the theft, I smiled. Not a small, timid smile. A dangerous smile. The game had begun. I woke up the next morning feeling hollow. like someone had carved a chunk of me out while I slept. I smiled at Mom at breakfast. She smiled back, and I nodded politely, but inside was a storm. Quiet, patient, waiting. She looked at me like nothing had happened. Like my name didn't matter, like I didn't matter. I chewed my toast slowly, pretending to be distracted by the butter. "Did you sleep well?" I asked, voice light. Mom hummed, "Yes. And you?" I forced a nod. "Yeah, fine. Fine. A lie. A shield." I couldn't let anyone see it yet. Not her, not Mom, not even myself. Rage simmered beneath the surface, quiet but relentless. I had to act like nothing was wrong, for now. Later I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. There we were, my sister and me, two kids on a swing set, laughing until our stomachs hurt, sharing secrets under a blanket fort. I had once promised to always protect her. Always. And she had betrayed me. I slammed the phone down. My hands shook. That betrayal, it cut deeper than I expected. Nostalgia turned sharp, like a blade pressed against my ribs. I couldn't tell anyone yet. Not the family, not my sister, but I had to talk. I needed to test the waters. I called Sam, my best friend. "Hey, you there?" My voice came out rougher than I intended. "Always. What's wrong?" Sam said. Calm, grounded, my anchor. I hesitated. "It's Stubbs, my sister." There was a pause on the line. "What about her?" I could hear Sam leaning in. "Talk to me." I took a deep breath. She registered my name, my business name, without telling me. Just took it. Silence. Then wait, she did what? I laughed, sharp and bitter. Exactly. She did exactly that. You said joking. I shook my head, though Sam couldn't see it. I wish I were. I can believe it, Mom. She just didn't care. She smiled, like it was normal. Abdul? Sam Sepp's voice softened. That Sepp's messed up. Sepp's messed up. Sepp's messed up. Sepp's messed up. I ran a hand through my hair. Sorry? No? I can just let it slide. I keep thinking about every little thing she's done. Every time she smiles at dinner. Every comment. It's like she's rubbing it in. Sam was quiet for a beat. Sounds like you stir. Obsessed. I winced. Yeah, maybe, but I can stop thinking about it. It sets my name, my identity. Everything I built, and she laughing while I pretend to be calm. You need a plan, Sam said firmly. You can just stew. You will drive yourself crazy. I know, I whispered. Not ready yet. I have to watch. See what she does next. And I did. I started noticing things I had missed before. The way she positioned herself at family dinners, subtly nudging herself to the head of the table. The way she casually mentioned achievements, not to celebrate, but to assert dominance. Every word, every glance, felt like a challenge, like a reminder that she had taken what was mine. And worse, she enjoyed it. Her smiles calculated, her laughter deliberate, and every time she looked at me, I felt the sting of loss all over again. I tried to hide it, numb myself, pretend I didn't notice, but the storm inside me grew, gathering strength. Anger, hurt, disbelief, shame, all mixing together into a cold, focused energy. I remember one night, sitting alone in my room, staring at the ceiling, shadows stretched across the walls. My own breathing sounded too loud. I whispered into the darkness, "You think I still let this go? You think I still let you take everything without consequence?" No answer, just silence. But I didn't need one. The more I watched her, the more my strategy formed. Small things first. Test her. Watch her reactions. Gather information. Wait for the perfect moment. I realized I had to wrestle with fear too. Fear of acting too soon. Fear of exposing my vulnerability. Fear of letting anyone know how much this hurt me. Vulnerability is weakness, I reminded myself. Weakness is a luxury I cannot afford. So I played the part. The calm, polite, unsuspecting sibling. I nodded when she bragged. I smiled when she walked in, pretending her victory didn't matter. But inside, the gears were turning. Slowly, relentlessly. Sam called again that week. "You're quieter than usual," Sam said. I laughed lightly this time. "I'm fine, just thinking." Thinking or planning? I didn't stat answer immediately. Then quietly, both. And it was true. Thinking, planning, observing. My sister had no idea how dangerous quiet could be. By the end of the week, I felt the first taste of power. Not yet unleashed. Not yet visible to anyone but me, but real, solid, like ice forming under my skin. I caught myself smiling, not at her, not at anyone, but at the thought of what could come, of what justice would look like, of what she would feel when she realized that taking from me had awakened something she couldn't contain. And in that silent fallout, as I watched her move through the house like she owned it, I understood one thing clearly. This was no longer about anger. This was no longer about hurt. It was about control. It was about claiming what she thought she stole. It was about waiting, patient and precise, until the first step could be taken. And I would take it. I told the lawyer it was just curiosity. Curiosity about what? He asked, leaning back, eyebrows raised. I forced a smile. Just business stuff. Thought I set see if names are still available. No big deal. He nodded, flipping through his notes. Curious is good, better than reactive. What name? I hesitated. A flicker of doubt passed over me. Let's say, a family name. Mine. He looked up. Interesting. That one might be tricky. Already in use? I shook my head. Not anymore, or not legally. He paused, tapping his pen. You could trademark it before someone else. It steps legal. First come, first served. But, why would you want to? I swallowed, feeling the first real rush of danger. The thought alone made my pulse spike. Let Set say, I want to protect it. Make sure it sets not misused. That sets all. Inside though, I already knew what I wanted. You know, he said, leaning in, once you file it's SEP's binding. The owner of that trademark has full rights. You said be taking control. I laughed softly. Control, that SIP's a word I like. I left his office with a folder in my hand, a legal map to something that felt like justice, something mine. Back in my apartment, I sank onto the couch, letting the silence press against me. My mind raced. Could I really do this? Trademark her business name, claim it before she even knew? It felt wrong. Wrong. And yet, perfectly right. I thought about her face, that smug, infuriating grin, the way she walks through the house like she's a queen. Every time she laughs, it's a reminder. Every innocent comment, a jab. You think you ser clever, I whispered under my breath. But you don't set see me coming. I pictured all the little things she's done over the years. The time she borrowed my laptop and never returned it. The lies she told to make me look bad. The way she subtly manipulated Mom, nudging herself into every advantage. Every tiny injustice suddenly felt like fuel, a checklist, evidence, an arsenal. I pulled out a notebook and started documenting. Names, dates, incidents, everything. My handwriting became sharp, almost angry. Each line a step closer to balance, each page a silent accusation waiting for its day in court, or life. I called Mom that night, tried to keep it casual. So, work sep's busy. She smiled, faintly. Yes, you sep're doing well? Yeah, busy too. I paused, carefully measuring each word. By the way, your daughter, how sep's her little venture? Oh, you know, she's ambitious. Her tone was so light, so unconcerned. Ambitious. That's what I would call it too. Ambitious and blind to the consequences. Or maybe she knew. Maybe that smugness was confidence, not ignorance. Either way, it didn't matter. I noticed something that night. In every subtle confrontation, every shared moment, she didn't suspect me. Not even once. The arrogance, the selfishness, her undoing was that she underestimated me. She smiled at me over dinner later, patting my shoulder. You always worry too much, she said. Relax. Let me handle things for once. I nodded, keeping my face neutral. Inside, a storm raged. Relax, I whispered to myself. Relax and watch. The next few days were a mix of planning and patience. I filed forms, double-checked clauses, and reread every legal requirement. Each step, methodical, calculated. I remembered the lawyer Sep's words, first come, first served. I imagined her face when she tried to claim what she thought was hers. Confusion, anger, then the realization that I had beaten her to it. That thought alone made a thrill run through me. I also wrestled with morality. This felt like theft. Technically, it was taking something she already claimed, but she stole from me first. Took my identity, my pride, my name. Every violation she committed justified my move in my mind. I pictured confronting her one day. Not now, not yet. But when it happened, she wouldn't have a single word to defend herself. I checked my notes again. Every lie, every manipulation, every calculated smile she'd ever given, documented. My silent weapon, ready. The apartment was dark, shadows stretching across the walls. I leaned back in my chair, folding my hands over the folder containing the trademark papers. I signed each document carefully, deliberately. Every stroke of the pen was a victory I could feel in my chest. Quiet, unseen, perfect. When I finished, I exhaled slowly, letting a small victorious smile curl across my lips. I looked out the window at the city lights. The world outside was oblivious, unaware. But in my hands, I held the first real proof that the game had changed. I whispered to myself, soft and certain, not today, not ever. This is mine now. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something settle, not relief, not peace, but a calm, dangerous satisfaction. The plan had taken shape. The first move was made, and she had no idea. I watched from the corner of the room, sipping my coffee, pretending to scroll through emails. But my eyes never left her. The launch. My name plastered everywhere. My name now her brand. She smiled, smooth and confident, as she welcomed clients and colleagues. But I saw it tiny cracks, a hesitation in her voice when she answered that one question, a flicker of doubt in her eyes when someone challenged her figures. I whispered under my breath, quiet enough for no one to hear, not so untouchable, are you? A client approached, shaking their head, frustration barely hidden. Honestly, some of these contracts don't make sense. I was promised exclusivity, and suddenly, its subs changed. Her laugh was too sharp, a little too forced. Its steps just a minor adjustment, nothing to worry about. Minor adjustment. Lies. That was her signature move. She had always twisted facts, manipulating people to get what she wanted. I remembered every small betrayal she had committed over the years, every lie, every borrowed favor she never returned, every chance she stole from me under the guise of charm. I took notes discreetly. Emails, contracts, social media posts, all cataloged, every evidence, a thread in the net I was weaving. Then Dad walked in. The man who always claimed neutrality. Neutrality, my ass. I noticed the way he looked at her, not pride, not pure admiration. Something else. Satisfaction, past grudges, smoothed over, but visible in the way he lingered on her achievements. I caught a glimpse of our conversation later. You've always been ambitious, he said quietly, to her alone. She smiled, oblivious. I just try my best. His gaze lingered. Ambitious is one thing, but don't forget how far some people are willing to go, how far others went for you. I froze when I heard that. Past favors, subtle manipulations, hints of her entitlement. Dad knew, he always had. I leaned back in my chair, letting the pieces settle in my mind. Every tiny victory she had earned or stolen was no longer untouchable. I could see the pattern. Every move she made, every calculated smile, was predictable. I caught her glancing at me once. Her eyes flicked over, searching, smiling as if to test my reaction. I stayed neutral, calm, observing, learning. The day wore on. I moved quietly, capturing screenshots, saving emails, archiving posts. Every little inconsistency, every contradiction, every carefully disguised manipulation, evidence in my growing arsenal. Then came the small, unexpected setback. A client confronted her, in front of a few others. Wait, I just got an email contradicting your offer. Can you clarify? Her face froze. That confident, untouchable mask faltered for the first time in weeks. She fumbled, stumbling over words, trying to recover, apologizing, smiling too much. I held my breath. The room felt electric. The smallest crack in her perfection was like a bell toll for me. A warning, yes, but also a promise. You shall be okay, I whispered to myself. Patience. The storm sep's coming. Later, Dad came to my side, casual, but not casual at all. She's Sep's talented, he said. His voice was low. But Don Seps let it blind you. Not everything is what it seems. I nodded. I know. Inside, though, my pulse raced. This was it. This was the moment I had been waiting for. The mask slipping, the control she thought she had, was fragile. Every time she moved, I analyzed. Every word she said, every laugh she forced. It all added to my understanding. My chessboard was taking shape. Pawns, knights, bishops, every email, contract, post, a piece in my strategy. I remembered Sam Sepp's voice in my ear from weeks ago. You need a plan. This was it. My plan was unfolding. Not reckless, not loud, quiet, precise. Every observation, every document, every small victory in her hesitation building momentum. I caught her later, alone in the corner, checking her phone. Her fingers hesitated over a message. Her eyes darted. That tiny pause. It told me everything. She was aware of a threat, not sure where it came from, not sure how close it was. And I smiled, quietly in the shadows of my apartment later that night, as I organized my folder of evidence. Every document, every screenshot, every note, my arsenal, my proof, my power. I remembered the first spark, the theft of my name, the anger, the hurt, the disbelief. And now the situation had shifted, the balance of power was changing. She thought she owned the game, thought she could manipulate, charm, and intimidate without consequence. She didn't know the depth of my observation. She didn't see me yet, not fully. I whispered to the shadows. You subtle see soon enough. Later that evening, I reviewed the minor setback again, played it over in my mind. The fumbled words, the nervous glance, the forced laugh, proof that she was human, that her empire, as fragile as she thought it wasn't, had weak points. The storm wasn't here yet, but it was coming, and she had no idea it was headed straight for her. I closed my folder, leaving it on the table. Lights off, shadows thick. The city outside pulsed quietly, unaware of the tension building inside my walls. And I felt it calm, focused, empowered. The masks were falling, and soon, so would she. I leaned back in my chair, phone in hand, heart steady but pulse quickening underneath. It was time. Not loud, not reckless, quiet, controlled, like a surgeon. I drafted the first email, carefully worded, polite, concerned, just enough to raise doubt. I just came across some irregularities in the contracts. Thought you set want to know before moving forward. Best regards. I didn't sign my name. I didn't need to. My voice was invisible, but my presence would be felt. I hit send. And waited. The replies came slowly at first. Curious, confused, some defensive, some cautious. I smiled as I read them. Every reaction a tiny ripple in the world she thought she owned. She's Seps hiding something, one client wrote. Can we verify before signing? Another asked. I thought I could trust her. The third said. I closed my eyes. I pictured her sitting at her desk, smiling for the camera, confident, untouchable, and now she was on the edge, feeling shadows where she thought there were none. Later that day she called. I answered casually. Hey, is everything okay? Her voice, light, almost teasing. Everything Sep's fine, I said. Slow, just checking in. Heard some chatter. Chatter? Her laugh was brittle, forced. What chatter? Oh, you know. Clients talking. Media asking questions. Nothing serious. Just curious minds. She paused. I could hear it. The subtle tremor beneath her practiced calm. I don't know what you mean. I smiled softly. Of course, just keeping an eye out, for your sake. We hung up. I felt it. The tiniest thrill. The first cracks forming in her perfect facade. The next week was a chessboard. I dropped hints in interviews. I asked innocent questions during client meetings. I noticed some inconsistencies in your public filings. Can you explain? Some partners mentioned delays. Is everything transparent on your end? Every message, every subtle nudge carried layers she couldn't see. To the world, I was a concerned observer. To her, I was an invisible enemy, tightening the noose. Her public persona began to shift. The flawless, confident leader cracks showing. Friends whispered behind her back. Colleagues exchanged looks. Business partners hesitated. I watched it all unfold like a slow-motion film, each frame more satisfying than the last. Every stumble, every forced smile, every hurried email she sent in panic fed my quiet, grim satisfaction. One afternoon, a major client called her directly. "We need clarity. These reports are troubling. We might reconsider the contract." Her voice shook just slightly. "No, no, it's all fine. I still send corrections immediately." I knew she was scrambling, pretending everything was fine, and every lie, every overcompensation, made her look weaker, made her human, made her vulnerable. I reminded myself to stay invisible. No messages that could be traced, no hint that it was me. Patience, precision, observation. The storm had begun, but it had to grow organically. At night, I sifted through social media, emails and press releases, screenshots, notes, every mistake documented, every tiny betrayal she ever committed, meticulously tied to the present. I was building the case not just for legal leverage, but for karma to strike hard. Then came the first public misstep. A reporter asked her a question during a live stream, something about contract discrepancies. She froze, paused too long, smiled a second too long. Everything's in order. No issues at all," she stammered. Comments exploded below. Clients noticed. Friends whispered. Partners questioned. I sipped my coffee in the quiet of my apartment, watching her empire shake with a careful detachment I didn't let anyone see. "You thought you could walk over me," I whispered to the shadows. "Thought I was naive, distracted, harmless." The next day, Dad called me, casual tone, but the meaning was clear. "Have you noticed she sets under pressure?" I nodded, pretending to be casual. "Yes, business stress, I guess." He chuckled softly. "Stress can reveal a lot about someone. I've seen it before." I held my tongue. My inner monologue sharpened. Dad was observing too. Maybe he had always noticed. Maybe he had waited for this exact moment to see her stumble. Later, at a family dinner, she came in, radiant as ever, or at least she tried. Her laughter sounded hollow to me now. Every forced smile, every exaggerated story of success was a shield against the storm. I watched her, quietly taking mental notes. Every gesture, every word, every attempt to charm or dominate the conversation. "You sir awfully quiet tonight," she said, stopping by my plate. Her eyes scanned me, looking for weakness. "Everything okay with work?" I smiled, neutral. "Everything's fine. You seem busy." Her lips tightened, a flash of frustration. She hadn't expected me to be this composed, to watch, to wait, to learn. "I'm just managing," she said lightly. But I caught it, the hesitation, the subtle shift, the mask slipping. The room felt electric. My presence, calm and silent, weighed on her without a word. Every move she had made thinking I was naive, undone by my silence. Later, I returned to my apartment. I opened my laptop. Emails, screenshots, messages, all neatly archived, each one a reminder that the storm I'd nurtured in shadows was real, growing, unstoppable. I whispered to the empty room, voice low. "You thought you owned everything. Thought your lies and smiles could erase the truth. You were wrong." And in that quiet I realized something. I didn't need to act openly yet, not until the pieces were perfect. The panic, the doubt, the unraveling, it had to come naturally in public where everyone could see. She would fall, and it would be undeniable. The final sip of coffee warmed my hands as I leaned back, a quiet, victorious smile curling across my lips. I knew the next family gathering would be the first real confrontation. She would see me differently, realize I wasn't the naive sibling she assumed I was, that I had been planning, waiting, watching all along. And when that day came, her arrogance would meet the consequence it deserved. I closed the door behind us and leaned against it. The apartment was quiet, except for the faint hum of the city outside. She looked at me, really looked. For the first time in weeks her confidence faltered. "What? What is this?" she asked, voice tight, unsure. I stepped closer, folding my arms. "You know exactly what this is." Her brow furrowed. I don't stead understand." "You don't stead understand?" My voice shook, but not from fear. Anger, hurt, betrayal. "You stole my name, my identity, my work, and you thought I wouldn't set notice. Or worse, that I wouldn't set care." She blinked. "Abdul, it's just a name. It's just business." "Just business." I cut in. My voice sharp. My name is not just business. It seps everything I sep worked for. Everything I am. You took it from me. And Mom. You think she made it easy for you? Her face tightened. Mom, she seps always supported me. You know that. I laughed. Bitter and low. Supported you? Supported your lies maybe. Supported your arrogance. She smiled while you erased me. Smiled while you made yourself untouchable. And I stayed quiet. Pretended it didn't set hurt. Pretended I didn't set notice. She looked down. For a moment silence. The kind that presses into your chest. Abdul, I didn't stet think. You didn't set think. My hands shook. Do you even remember childhood? Remember the nights we stayed up talking? Sharing secrets? Protecting each other? Or were those just stories for me? Her eyes filled, hesitation on the edge of tears. Yeah, I thought we were close. I didn't set mean. You didn't set mean? I spat, voice low, controlled. You didn't set mean to take my name? To claim my work as yours, to walk through life thinking everything you touch belongs to you. She flinched. Abdul, stop yelling. I took a breath. Hard. No, you need to hear this. Every smile, every lie, every manipulation, it mattered. And it matters. To me, to everyone who trusted you. I stayed silent too long, and now, I let a pause stretch, letting the weight settle. Now you're going to see what it feels like to be watched, to be questioned, to be challenged. Her lips trembled. Challenged? Abdul, what are you saying? I straightened, my eyes cold. I trademarked your business name. The words hung in the air. She froze, blinked, stared, then her face twisted, anger, shock. You can stet, that sep's mine. You thought it was yours, I interrupted softly. But it never was. You took from me first. You built on my work, my dreams, my identity, and now, you don't own it anymore. She sank onto the couch, shoulders slumping. Abdul, I'm sorry. I didn't sit mean, please don't sit. I stepped closer, leaning slightly. Sorry? Sorry doesn't undo years of betrayal. Sorry doesn't erase the arrogance, the manipulation, the smiles you used to hurt me. Sorry doesn't give you back the trust you shattered. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I didn't know it hurt you this much. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought you understand. I shook my head. Understand? Understand what? That my name, my identity, my life is yours to play with? That you can walk through every room like you said are untouchable? Her voice cracked. I wanted success. I thought I could make you proud too. You thought? I whispered, a tremor in my voice. You thought, and you forgot to care about me. You forgot we were sisters. You forgot that I existed. That my work, my dreams mattered. Silence, heavy, almost suffocating. I let her words, her tears sink into me. But I didn't soften, not yet. I've been watching, I said finally. Watching every move, every lie, every smile used to manipulate, and I've been waiting. Patient, silent, learning your moves before you even make them. Her eyes widened. Abdul, what do you mean? I pulled out my folder. Every contract you twisted, every client you misled, every post you tried to control, documented, all of it. She gasped. You've been keeping all this. Yes, I said, calm now, controlled, because I knew one day it would matter. One day you would need to understand the weight of what you've done, and that day is now. Her hands covered her face. Abdul, I don't know what to say. Say nothing, I whispered. Just see what it feels like to be powerless, to watch your empire tremble, to realize your success isn't untouchable. And maybe, just maybe, you'll finally understand what betrayal feels like. She looked up then, tears streaked across her face. For a moment vulnerability replaced arrogance. Human, fragile, broken. I never wanted to hurt you, she said softly, almost pleading. You did, I replied. You hurt me every day, and you need to carry that weight now. Memories flashed through me. Childhood secrets, shared dreams, laughter under blankets, whispered promises. Every moment of trust she broke, every stolen victory, every lie. I loved you, I whispered. And you forgot what love meant between us. That Sep's your real loss, not mine. She sobbed quietly. Abdul, I'm sorry. I don't set know how to fix this. You can set fix it, I said. Calm, composed, strong. You can set erase what you took. You can only live with it. And that some moving forward, with my name, with my life, with control over what Sep's mine. She buried her face in her hands again, pleading silently, and I let her sit there, letting the full weight of her actions press down. For the first time, she understood, not fully, not yet, but she was starting to see. And I finally felt a measure of closure. I sat in the lawyer's office, hands folded, breathing slow, calm, controlled. You understand the implications, he said, leaning back. Once we file this, her business is effectively frozen. She can use the name, not legally, not publicly. I nodded. I understand. He studied me. Are you sure you want to go through with this? There sits no undoing it. I smiled faintly. I supped him done being a pawn, done being invisible, done letting her walk over me. He leaned forward, tapping the table. Then we move. The courts will enforce your trademark. Her contracts, her clients, everything will have to pause until this is resolved. I let the words sink in. Pause. Pause for impact. Every client, every colleague, every business partner who had once admired her now questioning, watching, hesitating. She still fight, he warned. Expect legal pushback, media attention, drama. Good, I said softly. Let her scramble, let her feel the weight of her choices. I left the office with the trademark papers in my bag, a sense of clarity I hadn't felt in years. The world outside moved obliviously, but inside me the shift had already occurred. She had taken everything she could from me. Now, the power was mine. I remembered the first time I realized she had stolen my name. The shock, the disbelief. My parents' awed silence, the hurt, the betrayal. That anger had burned in me for weeks, then months, and now it was transmuted into something sharper, something precise. I watched her online trying to maintain appearances. Every social media post, every interview, every polished smile cracks showing, comments questioning her ethics. Partners asking for clarification, colleagues whispering. A client email arrived that afternoon. "We noticed inconsistencies in your filings. Until these are clarified, we must pause all collaboration. Sincerely." I leaned back in my chair, letting the small victory settle, not cruelty, balance, justice. Later she called. I let it ring a few times before answering. "Abdul?" Her voice trembled, brittle. "I do nested understand. Everything supple's falling apart. I do and you too. Need me to what?" I asked softly. "Come to the rescue? Fix what you broke?" I just, she stumbled over words. "You why? We're sisters, why are you doing this?" I let silence stretch, long enough to let her feel it, let her comprehend. "You are asking why," I whispered, my voice calm but hard. "I'm doing this because you took what was mine. My name, my identity, my work. And you thought you could manipulate, charm, lie, and no one would notice. But I did. And now, the balance has shifted." Her sob caught in her throat. "Abdul, please. Dawn set." I cut her off. "No. Listen. This is instead revenge in the ugly sense. I step not here to destroy you. I step near to restore what was taken, to claim what is rightfully mine, to stop being invisible." I saw her pause, the first real understanding flicker across her face. Vulnerability, fear, recognition. You've always underestimated me," I said, voice low, almost a whisper. "Thought I never fight back. Thought I stay silent forever. But look at us now. The rules changed. The game changed. And you did instead even see it coming." She cried quietly, head in her hands. I didn't think. I never realized." "You didn't think," I repeated. "You never thought that's why this hurts. Not for me, for you, because you finally see the consequences of being careless, selfish, manipulative. And now, you have to live with them." I reflected on my own growth. I hadn't needed this moment for pride or malice. I needed it for clarity, for empowerment, for the simple, intoxicating realization that I was no longer a pawn in her games. I set boundaries in my mind, firm and sharp. No more borrowed glory, no more silent suffering, no more being overlooked, erased, or taken advantage of. My name, my work, my identity, protected, secured, controlled. The lawyer called the next day. We filed the motion. It's steps official. Her business is frozen under your trademark. She cannot use the name until this is resolved. Legally. I smiled. Small, quiet, but filled with a weight I hadn't felt in years. Victory didn't need to be loud. Victory didn't need to humiliate. It just needed to exist. I thought about her, crying in silence, pleading with a reality she had ignored for too long. My anger had tempered into something stronger. Focus, precision, balance. I pulled up the files one last time, checking every client, every contract, every post, evidence neatly organized. My arsenal, but now used for protection, not attack. Her empire wasn't destroyed. It was paused. Her success wasn't erased. It was questioned, unstable, fragile, and that was all the justice I needed. I whispered to the empty room, voice steady. No more taking from me, no more walking over me, no more pretending I sup and weak. The clarity was intoxicating, the empowerment, real. I thought about mom, about dad, about the years of manipulation and small betrayals, about my sister, her selfishness real, her pain real, our bond fractured, but truth finally restored. I closed my laptop, light outside fading into evening, shadows thick around me. Not cruelty, not vengeance, poetic justice, balance, restoration. I had reclaimed my narrative, my identity, my name. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I sat at the window, sunlight spilling across the floor, quiet, warm, peaceful. I let the silence settle around me, not empty, not lonely, just calm. Mom walked in, carrying 2 cups of tea. She didn't say much, didn't need to. She set one in front of me and sat across. You look different, she said softly. Her eyes studied me, careful. I feel different, I replied. My voice steady. I finally feel like me. She nodded slowly. Yusep carried so much anger, so much hurt. I had to, I admitted. I couldn't just let it go. Not when she took everything, not when she pretended it didn't matter. I had to fight. I had to reclaim what was mine. Mom reached across, her hand brushing mine. You did, and you did it without losing yourself. That, that sips something rare. I smiled faintly. I learned a lot along the way, about myself, about her, about what it means to hold power, and to wield it responsibly. She looked at me, a mix of pride and sadness. And her? I let out a slow breath. She steps facing the consequences of her choices. Not because I wanted revenge for revenge's sake, but because actions have weight. She has to live with hers.
I'm done with her games.
Done with being manipulated. Done with being invisible. Mom nodded. I can see it. Yusuf grown, stronger, sharper, but not hardened. That sep's important. I took a sip of tea. Warmth spread through my chest. I thought back to every late night, every sleepless moment, every internal battle, the shock of betrayal, the simmering rage, the meticulous planning, the subtle exposure, the confrontation, the legal victory. Each step had carved me into someone new. You look at peace, Mom said again quietly. I am, I admitted. It's strange. Victory doesn't always feel like triumph. Sometimes it quiet. Sometimes it just knowing you standing on your own ground unshaken. I thought about the past. Childhood memories, now tinged with both hurt and resilience. The laughter, the secrets, the trust, and the betrayal. I had felt powerless then. Invisible, erased. But now, I was visible. I was unshakable. I opened a drawer and pulled out a small box. Inside was a necklace she had once taken from me. Something personal, sentimental, a piece of my identity she had claimed in the past. I held it for a moment, letting the weight of it remind me of how far I'd come. Then carefully I put it around my own neck. Full circle, I whispered. Not in anger. Not in triumph over her. But for me. a quiet reclamation, a personal symbol of strength. Mom watched, silently supportive. It suits you, she said. I nodded. It does. And it spids mine. Finally wholly mine. The sun shifted. Light and shadow danced across the room. I felt the scars, still there, subtle reminders of the journey, but they didn't hurt the way they used to. They were proof of endurance, proof of learning, proof of resilience. Abdul, Mom said softly, I think you said found something important along the way. Not just your name, not just your business, but yourself. I have, I said, and I shall keep finding it. Every day. No more being pulled into games that aren't at one. No more losing pieces of myself to others. Mom reached over, squeezing my hand. I said I'm proud of you. Truly. I looked out the window again, watching the city breathe, oblivious to the battles we carry inside. And for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of anger lift. I wasn't haunted by betrayal or revenge anymore. I was whole. I thought about my sister, about the path she had chosen, about the consequences she now faced, and I felt neither glee nor malice. Just clarity. Life had a balance now. Justice wasn't loud or destructive, it was quiet, it was inevitable, and I had been patient enough to let it unfold. I adjusted the necklace. Warmth against my skin, a reminder, a token. My reclamation, my victory, my silent power. Do you regret any of it? Mom asked, softly. No, I said. Not one step, not one moment. Every tear, every sleepless night, every calculated move, it was necessary. I didn't compromise my integrity. I didn't stoop to cruelty. I just reclaimed myself. Mom smiled, quiet, proud. Then Yusef truly risen. I nodded, looking at her, and then back at the window. Light spilling across the floor, shadows still there but no longer threatening. I was scarred, I was marked by the journey, but I was stronger, I was wiser, and I was free. The past had tried to define me, betrayal had tried to erase me, but I had risen from the ashes. And now, I was finally, completely, undeniably, myself.